all regarding searching. And I'm very proud that we can announce a very famous keynote speaker. Here we have Mike Dalakakis, and he comes here from the university and at the same time from Vienna. He has a double life, as he told us, and he's very famous, especially he was, when doing his PhD, he was announced for the best PhD ever in that field. I don't know what happened. And now his special area is searching and bringing these fields together. So we are really waiting for his talk, and welcome, Mike.
You raised the expectations so nice. Anyway, thank you. You exaggerated a little bit, but definitely I don't have a double life and I'm not a double agent. So, thank you very much, first of all, the programmers who invited me here. Indeed, I'm a professor at the Department of Informatics here at TI of Thessaloniki, but also the work which I'm going to present you here is mostly the result of the Marie Curie Fellowship, which to a large extent took place at the Vienna University of Technology. So this talk is a lot about search technologies, and this is pretty much obvious from the outline of my talk. So at the beginning I will talk about web search. I will try to make a very brief introduction about professional search, what exactly is professional search, and how we can really differentiate professional search from web search, because that will be a starting point to talk about integrated search system, which is, let's say, a relatively new idea of how we can design next generation search systems. Finally, I will go to the main part of the talk, which is about what it can be done better in terms of how we can design in a different way the search systems of the, I hope, near future, but at the same time, what support we can provide so users can become more effective using these systems and in the end more happier. And basically, more or less, when I talk about users, I talk about professional searchers, that they conduct different types of searches within a professional domain. So this is the overview of the basic, the classical information retrieval process. Obviously, information retrieval, it is in the core of any search system. Information retrieval as a discipline is one of the long-standing disciplines of computer science, and what this diagram presents is the main processes which are happening within any retrieval engines. I think it's pretty, all of you are pretty much familiar with this. So in the one hand, we've got the representation of the documents that they exist, and at the end we produce an index for these documents. And on the other hand, we've got the information problem, which usually is expressed using some queries, some query language, and at the end we compare between the queries and the representation of the documents in order to retrieve a set of documents, and based on some feedback to start again. So this is a very typical, most of the search systems, which actually it's a very old story, maybe not that old as it is depicted in this picture, but what I would like to point out from this picture is to make sure to explicitly show you that search systems are more or less the first systems that people in the computer science field, scientists, started to develop at the early 60s. And probably you recognize this environment. So this is another interesting fact which I would like to point out in this talk, that even in the first systems that they were developed, there were quite a lot of options and quite a lot of decisions that someone had to make. So you can see this is a typical interface for searching library catalogs, and still, although I guess that this interface is pretty old, probably more than 20 or 30 years old, still there are quite a lot of options. So the user can make keyword-based search, he can select the databases which he is going to search, so he has the option to browse in the journals which are available, for example, and possibly instead of the simple keyword-based search, there was always an advanced search option where the user can type in different combinations of queries targeting specific fields, subsets of the documents that they were indexed. So that was, let's say, until the 90s, more or less, and suddenly the web came. The web exploded at the beginning of the 90s, and at the end of the 90s, we've got so strong web search engines like Google, Yahoo, and the others that they were developed before and after, that tremendously increased the popularity of the web. We have seen that that has a very important effect, and that effect was that basically everybody, whatever underwear they were wearing, so the old grandmother, the younger people, everyone was using the internet. That was the major effect, and when I talk about internet, I talk about web and internet starting to become synonyms. So more and more, the great success of the search engines increased the use of the web, and that tremendously from its part increased the use of the internet. So that was that was the major effect, but there were some other important side effects. And this side effect is that more or less we grew up a generation of children, maybe they are not children, but at the age of 20s now, 20s to 30s, I would say, that what they believe is that the truth of any query that they submit, or the truth for any information need that they have, comes from a web engine, and this is definitely captured in the first 10 results which are produced from a search engine. And obviously this is a very important side effect, because if you would like to design a search system, and particularly a professional search system, you need to take all these side effects into account. And there are of course many other side effects which someone who makes studies in the information science fields can identify, but for example, just to give you an idea of another important effect is the so-called Google effect. So people that are influenced by search engines, web search engines, they tend to forget things that they believe that they can find easily in the web by using a search engine. So this is a very, very fundamental and important change of the way that people are treating this very important process. In fact, if you look back, you will see references Plato in some work that it is written many centuries ago, actually mentions that the memory of the people is influenced by what is written in books and text. And we can see the similar side effect right now, but now it becomes very stronger because obviously the penetration and the use of the web is very important. Very briefly, this is a taxonomy of the different types of web searches that can be conducted. It is very important to know what are the main tasks which the users try to fulfill when they use a web search. So you can see we've got navigational tasks where the user tries to reach a particular site. We've got, for example, informational sites, informational needs where the user tries to acquire information which he believes that it should be present on the web, etc. So what is important to keep here is that there are particular tasks which are particularly fulfilled from a web search engine. When we will move to the professional search domain, we will see that the needs are quite different. and the tasks which are conducted are also not exactly the same. Several times in professional search, we may need to, for example, do a navigational type of search, but most of the times other different types of searches will be conducted. If we would like to model, this slide is quite interesting because it presents a very recent, quite recent work. Actually, that was the best paper award in the most important information retrieval conference, which is the ACMC-GAIAR conference. And basically, it presents a very simple model of how we can model the processes that they happen during a web search. So what we can see here at the beginning, the user submits a query. This query can have a negative signal or a positive signal depending on the whatever it produces a good set of results or not, and then from a good query we can go to a good result list, and then we can look at the document. So we've got two basic processes that took place. The user submits a query, a set of lists are produced, then the end user looks at this result list and tries to find his answer and to verify that in fact the answer which has been identified is the right answer to his problem. The essence of this model is basically more or less to show you that it's pretty simple to define and model all the processes that took place within a web search. If we move to just keep this slide in your mind, and later on we will see that in professional search it is not so easy to model the search process. So that was the first part of my talk. I will move now to the next part. Well, I will try to introduce you to professional search and present also some terminology about what is professional search, what is integrated search. I don't know what really you think of the professional search when you hear this term, and you will see many different definitions of the term. But I think basically we can define professional search by where it is happening, and I think that professional search most of the time is happening in the workplace, and by the reason that it is happening. So most of the times professional search is not for fun. Okay, this differentiates a lot because a big part of web search is about fun and amusement, etc. Professional search is for a professional reason or an aim. And based on these two important parameters, especially the second one, we can identify many different facets that differentiate professional search from web search. So for example, in professional search, we have lengthy search sessions. And when I say lengthy, someone, for example, who wants to produce an intellectual property report, he can spend a week. This is a very typical time. Okay, so I can spend the whole week to solve one problem, while in web search, it is so much different. The average time in web search is 10 to 15 minutes, even less. The notion of relevance can be different depending on the task that we would like to do. Many different sources have to be searched separately. Many times the focus is on specific knowledge, on a specific domain. So it is very important to mention that many times professional search is driven by the needs of a specific domain, and many times we need to optimize the tools or optimize the search system or optimize pre-process and optimize the content because each domain may have its own differences, peculiarities, needs that need to be addressed. What we need to also to observe from